Five, four, three, two.
We are live. We are live. Fellas, as we always do right before we get started, I'm going to share our live link. I don't know if you all have liked and subscribed to the page, but if you did and you got notification, I ask that you send that out to your people as well just by hitting that share button. So once I do that, we will get started.
Boom, 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 boom. Let's go. Kings in crisis, baby.
So, Kings in Crisis, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our lawyers, thank you for joining us for another installment of the Speakeasy. I am CJ, 1/4 of the Speakeasy podcast. We all know who Ron is, my co-host for the show this evening, also our producer. We thank you, Ron. We're going to get right into our esteemed panel. We have three great guys that I cannot wait to dive into some of this content with. First off, we got Mr. D Hall, man. Say what's up to the people.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Demetrius Hall. I'm living in Knoxville, Tennessee. Happy to be here.
Oh, you a volunteer fan?
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'm just messing with you. So we got next up, man. We got Mr. Ken Richardson. Ken, tell the people what's up.
What's up, y'all? I'm Ken Richardson. I live in McDonough, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. Yes, I am a Falcons, Dogs, and Braves fan.
Ooh, I was with you till you said the Falcons, man. But I'm not the Falcons, but the Dogs. But that's another day. That's a whole other different discussion. And then Mr. Danilo, introduce yourself to the people.
What's up? What's up? I'm Danilo Francois. I'm actually from Atlanta from like the last 15 years, I want to say. I'm from Atlanta. And right now I live in Gwinnett. What's up? What's up?
That's what's up. That's a good spot, man. Gwinnett.
Yeah.
Good spot. Very good spot. Well, fellas, thank you for joining us. We try to do this every Thursday. This is more of our serious pod, man. We really dive into some deep stuff and just see what we can do to advance our people. So we're going to dive right in. I know even our lawyers listening. Thank you all for tuning in. We know it's some good football and basketball on, so we appreciate you pulling up with us and enjoying this with us real quick. So we're going to just jump right in. The first topic is something that's it's a hitter, man. Black men and domestic violence. It's something that we deal with. It's something that our community deals with. So first, I'm gonna start with Ken, man. Just tell me what that means to you, and what do you do in your daily life to prevent it, or you can take it in a totally different direction, man. It's on you.
So for me, that's kind of like a situation growing up. For me, I grew up in a single family home. Dad was not around, but I kind of remember things when I was 6 years old. Kind of remember seeing that in the home environment with mom and dad. Dad would drink a lot, then come in, and then, of course, the fights would happen. So growing up, once the dad left, it was me, mom, sister. And from there, I kind of grew as a man thinking that's not what I want to do in my relationships when I get married. And I've always seen that trend from maybe friends I knew. But for me, I would kind of stay away from it. But domestic violence is one of those things that we see all the time. And it's bad because a lot of times now, back then they might throw bleach on each other and then you got, the whole grits and stuff like that. But now it usually ends in death because somebody gets upset, goes and tells a friend of a friend, or they have a weapon in the house and they end up shooting each other. So, that's one of the things I've seen a lot in the headlines lately, especially with COVID being prevalent and couples having to stay home with each other all the time now. But for me and my family, I can say my relationship with my wife is great. We talk, communicate. If things start going left, we separate, calm down, then come back, talk it out, and hash it out. So that's how I kind of see that as being one of the best things to do if you're in that situation, just get out of it if you can. And I know it's hard for some people. It's easy for some people to say that, but hard for the ones who are in it.
That's what I was just getting ready to say, man. This for you to have grown up in that situation and identify it quickly, like that's not what I want to be when I grow up. Because it could have went left for you, man. You could have went a totally different direction. Demetrius, man, what you think?
So yeah, I have similar experiences growing up with my biological mother and her boyfriend. Back when I was younger, I would say about 6 years old, 7 years old. Just seeing what was going on around the house made me commit to not being like that. One thing I do believe, though, that in our community, Black women, uh, we praise them and everything, and we want them to be strong. But I think sometimes they tend to cover up and protect these abusers. One, they don't want to air their dirty laundry to everybody, and two, they want to be strong and get through it. But to me, from my experience, uh, some things like that you cannot just work through it with the person who is abusing you. You have to seek help from somewhere else.
Very true. I completely agree. Daniela, what you think, man?
Hey, I'm touched by both of you guys' story that you just shared. Um, I feel fortunate because I can't say that I have a similar story. I had a different experience. Fortunately, I guess I can say both of my parents are still together. I've never actually seen them do anything like that with each other. So I kind of like, I feel kind of, I don't even know how to react right now because like I'm seeing that it's almost like if we had two other people, I would expect to be more trends of that happening with your stories. So I can't say I can relate. I grew up in a Haitian household. I wasn't born here, so culturally things were different. The way family structured, they're more focused on like from being young women that tend to transition into marriage rather than like, date a lot and do a lot of things like that. Depends on how you look at it. It can be looked at like you're not really living life or having fun, or you can look at it like, hey, I get to raise a family and pass on and keep going.
Right. You got to define what living life it is, really.
Right, exactly. So it was a different experience. So I'm not sure what to say because I'm not sure I can relate in that sense. Yeah.
But I actually appreciate you having that perspective. Because I fall in line with you. I grew up two-parent household, mom and dad. They aren't together today, but that was after I became an adult. My dad, I thought he was Shaq Diesel, man. He was 6'5", 300 plus pounds, but he was a teddy bear. Like, I mean, he never would he wouldn't harm a fly. And kind of growing up and seeing a man who was just meek and humble and patient. And I can't say I got all those qualities, but the last thing I ever saw him do was raise his hand to anyone, and in particular a woman. So I know for me, man, if even if I was to ever even come across my mind to do something crazy like that, I could just hear my dad and him probably joking me up for the first time ever. So we appreciate that perspective. It's good because all of us don't experience that. But just to kind of give y'all some numbers, I was looking at a recent poll where it was over 200,000 people, and 26% of women out of those 200,000 said that they had been sexually assaulted rather at work or at home. And when you really break it down to Black women, the number goes up to like almost like 30 something percent. And it kind of makes me sad to where, we can go back to what D was talking about, where he was saying, people don't want to air their dirty laundry. Right. And I feel like as Black people, we're already on the bottom of the totem pole. And the Black woman, I mean, if we're beating on her and then she get beaten on at work, like who can she turn to? Like who's gonna help her? And that statistic, it stuck out to me, and it was so sad. I just feel like we have to do better. I know today, and I haven't really had a conversation with my son about domestic violence. Mm-hmm. He's a middle schooler. So today I asked him, I said, son, if you saw one of your best friends and let's say he was touching a girl on the shoulder and she said stop, mm-hmm. and he put his hand back on the shoulder and she said stop, and he did it again. I said, how many times would you let him do it? And he said, well, the first time she told him to stop, I would have stepped in and told my buddy to back up. And I said, there you go, son. See, that's what I need to hear. So I feel like if we can just kind of educate our youth, even though we didn't see it and we don't live that way, I mean, it's no telling what they see in the streets. So we just educate our youth, and we just try to teach the youth one day at a time. Hopefully we can get better. Hate to rush off of that because that is a deep topic, but I kind of feel like we got everything that we needed to get out of it. So we'll move on to the next one. Have you guys ever been or felt demasculated?
Mm. Mm. I think for me, and I'll speak up first. Being a Black man and working in corporate America, um, you oftentimes, I'll put it like this. So I'm in a position where I was in a position where I was a kind of a supervisor, and I backed my employees 100%. But yet, then you have a manager of a different color who's over you, who basically berates you in front of your employees, just because number one, he thinks he can, and number two, he thinks he's smarter than you. But you just kind of have to play that role. And being in that position, I realized that's exactly what it was, because he was in authority. He felt like he could berate me in front of the other employers because I was under him, even though I was supposed to be leading them, which in my mind, that's totally not right. Because how can I lead some other people when you're berating me like I have no sense, or I don't know what I'm doing?
And that also, what you just said, man, ties back. And I know as fellas, it seemed like I skipped the topic, but I kind of wanted to combine the two. One for time purposes, but two, I just felt like, especially we're talking about domestic violence, we could get it together. But in the workplace, that's like a form of harassment, man, to berate me in front of people and know like we have that angry Black man stigma.
Right.
It's just sickening. It's sickening to me. Daniello, what you think, man? Have you ever had to come across any type of being demasculized or any type of workplace harassment, anything like that?
Oh yeah. I almost said, I almost solidified that.
Feel free, bro. We all adults. It is 18 plus. If y'all watch now, if you're not 18, get off the page.
Man, listen, I feel like that's a common theme, especially for young Black men when you're first coming into the workplace. And for me, I don't even want to tie it to being a foreigner or nothing like that. Strictly just being a young Black man. Like, you work hard to get the job. You had to show and prove twice as much. I remember that's what my high school principal used to say. You have to be twice as good to be number one. Like, so basically you do all of that to get noticed by a corporate job, and then you do it well just so your director can kind of like take credit for your work and kind of tell you when you can come and go. And that's something I think everybody experiences at least once. And I've experienced it a few times simply because I present a younger face, and like it makes them feel like they could get away with that. And my personality don't mesh with that at all. So I always check it. So it always slaps people in the face because you have to do that to keep your respect. And so that's something I definitely have dealt with more than once. Yeah, for sure.
Right. It's almost hard to combat. Go ahead, Demetri, jump in there.
Yeah, so I spent 24 years in the Air Force. I retired 3 years ago.
Thank you for your service.
Oh yes, you're welcome. So one thing that we had amongst ourselves is hiding behind your rank. Sometimes you have these people who outrank you by virtue of them being in longer or their position or whatever it is. I've had to bite my tongue too many times to count in my career, where someone comes at me at different kind of angle, and it's like, okay, am I going to jeopardize my career that I worked so hard for to prove my point, or am I going to just roll with the punches and keep stepping? So I made sure. So right now I'm actually an employer. So I have a good mixture of employees as far as men, women, gay, lesbian, whatever it is. I make sure that at no point do my employees feel that I think I'm better than what they are. I want to me, their input is going to be as good as my input. So I go above and beyond to make sure I'm not putting anybody in a situation where they feel like they're being demasculated, because that is a horrible feeling.
Yeah, see that I absolutely love that you were able to bring up from that side of the table, like being a boss and not doing what is done to many of us. I be honest with you, I have not met one brother who has not been either harassed or they tried to test his manhood at the job. I know for me, for instance, I won't name this retailer because I don't feel like giving anybody free publicity, but I can remember just having a disagreement with a supervisor and coming into the office and like having a manager get all in my face. And what was so disappointing to me, disheartening, was a black man. And he was in my face. And even one of my best friends to this day, he was in both of our face. And I remember my best friend telling me, CJ, the only reason I didn't fight this dude is because you didn't fight the guy. Like you sat back. But I mean, even to this day, it kind of hurts me the know what this guy said to me and what I allowed. But then at the same time, I still was able to keep my job. And then I moved up to Atlanta and my whole life changed. So I'm happy I came across of it, but I want to get in a little bit deeper because I know we deal with it, man. We've been dealing with this, have our manhood taken from us since the beginning. It started when we came over here, as y'all know, Willie Lynch. You know, if you haven't heard of it, read it. If you have, read it again. I feel like once a kid turns 14, they got to read this letter, black kid especially. But the Willie Lynch letter, essentially, it just breaks down the method that they use to handle unruly slaves. So, you know, when we first came over to this country, like, we are proud men, we are powerful, we are dominant, we are like, and I hate to use the term alpha, but we are alpha men. Like, it just is what it is. And what they used to do to us was they would turn us over. They would have us fighting each other for skin color. They would have us fighting each other over age. They would pit the men versus women, the people in the house versus the people outside. They got us so against each other that we forgot who was really the enemy. And then even going a little deeper, even in slavery, buck breaking. When, you know, I used to take our men, and you know what they did to us. I don't even want to really bring it up, but they did some nasty, foul things to us. And buck breaking us, not just, you know, a man takes us into a room and does what he's going to do, but they would do this in front of our families. They would do this in front of the entire communities and try to teach everybody else. Like, you see, and if all four of us looking at somebody and having them get buck broken in front of us, none of us are going to do what that person did. So they have been demasculizing us since we came over here. So it's just natural that we go through that today. And anybody who is going through it, of course, you know, you can seek help. It's hotlines of different things, contact your HR, but things like that, we should not approve of them. And we definitely should stand up when the time is right. Does anybody have anything else on that before we go to the next topic?
I think I'm glad you mentioned buck breaking. That was some, I didn't know if we were going to cross.
Yeah, man, we getting into it, bro. Yeah, okay, yeah, come on, let's go.
But yeah, and like you said, and I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, I was like, it started way back, like you said, way back then. But I'm kind of like today, why our community is like it is now. We still, even if we don't know somebody, it's like, oh, who do he think he is? And that's a bad mentality to have. But for me, I've taken on the mentality, if I see a brother in the grocery store, I'm like, how you doing, bro? You having a good day? To try to change that narrative, because if we don't start doing it, our kids won't do it either. I mean, I've got a 9-year-old son.
Me too.
And I'm like trying to make sure I set the best example I can for him. But that's like, we got to start somewhere. And I think with everything going on, like, we should have started a long time ago. But because of the things that have happened in the way that society has kept us in this, trying to think, like a box.
Yeah, they got us in a box. We in the matrix, man. This
yeah.
The matrix.
and even though some of us may do good or appear to be doing well, it's still tough because we still have to work 4 or 5 times harder than the other person sitting right next to us. But if it's a brother, we can't be looking down on them.
Right.
We got to be lending a hand. And for so long, we've been the crabs in the barrel mentality.
Yes.
And that's got to be broken at some point.
Right. It starts with us. Demetrius, anything?
Yeah. So as far as the crabs in the bucket mentality, so like I said earlier, I'm a business owner, and I have another brother who's a business owner down there with me as well in Nashville. And so we have a contract delivering for a major distributor. And so we were on the phone today, and he called me with some pointers on what I can start doing better to hire my employees and how to track their files and stuff like that. We talk on the phone a few times a week, and there's no jealousy, there's no animosity. It's like he wants me to win, I want him to win. And, you know, and the thing is, it's not just my fellow owners who are of color. It's just the men there. You know, we talk, you know, routinely, and we all want to see each other succeed.
And that's what it's all about, man. I feel like if we can all get on the same page, and Kim, I'm just like you, man. Like after reading that letter, Willie Lynch, I realized why we do a lot of the things that we do.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'll be honest with you, bro. I walk down the street and I see a brother walking past me, like I'm mugging you, like what you looking at, kind of thing. That was my mind before reading that letter. And now I go out of my way. Like actually, me and my buddy, we brag about how many different black guys we can speak to in one day, just trying to be nice and friendly or whatnot. But just, I think that it all starts back with teaching. First, it starts back, you fall in love with yourself. You loving what you see in the mirror. You loving when you see another person who looks like you. And instead of the first thing thinking is like, oh my God, like what is this guy about to do? It's like, well, hey brother, or hey sister, what's going on? I feel like if we can get back into that mode, man, we would be there. It looks like we lost Danilo.
Yeah, he's trying to get back in now.
Go ahead.
He's coming back.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think the other on the flip side of that is because of we have the way society is now, everybody is inclusive, gay, straight, lesbian, female, male, that I think there are some of us out there who will think just because a brother's speaking to you, he's trying to hit on you, which is not the case. Yeah. So that's the other thing, you know, in our minds, we have to get around that. It's not that. We're just being what we're supposed to be, and that's cordial and, you know, friendly to each other.
Right. I know I was watching a video, man, where it was a woman, I think she dropped her wallet or something out of her purse, and the guy was walking right behind her going into the convenience store. He was trying to say, hey, ma'am. He was trying to stop her, and she just kept right on walking. So he was like, all right. So he went in her purse, he pulled out some money out of her purse, bought his gas, bought some other stuff, and came back and was pumping. And I guess she was walking around looking for the purse, and he was like, yeah, I got it. And I spent money out of it. She was like, why'd you do that? He was like, I tried to give you the purse. Don't always think we trying to holler at you. Like, it's not, I was just trying to do the right thing, but since you didn't want it, okay, it's mine now. So I saw that and laughed. I don't know if that was staged, because it seemed a little staged, but I could see how that can happen in real life.
Right.
You just got to remember, you know, we are, you know, men first, and, you know, it's not a certain way a man's supposed to act. Like I said, I'm not a big believer in the alpha male. I don't think that really exists, but, you know, you got to be comfortable in your own skin. You can't let anyone make you feel less than a man. And however you define a man, don't let anybody make you feel less than that. It's your right to defend yourself. It's your right to defend your manhood. So that's how I personally feel. I wanted to let Danilo get back on before I move to the next topic. Ron, do you see if he's trying to get back in the group?
Got me right now. I just admitted him, but I don't see him now.
All right, well, we're gonna keep on strolling then. All right, if he jumps in, we'll circle back and see if he had anything to say. But the next topic I want to get in, and I'm interested in hearing what you all think. So the Million Man March, where did it go? Like it was so big. Now, for people who don't remember, like myself, I was born in '86, so I was a young man when this thing came out. But on October 16th in 1995, the Million Man March, it was the largest gathering of African American men in Washington, D.C. It was called by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and it was held in the National Mall. The National African American Leadership Summit, a leading group of civil rights activists in the Nation of Islam, working with scores of civil rights organizations, including many local chapters of the NAACP, formed the Million Man March Organization Committee. The founder of the National African American Leadership Summit, Dr. Benjamin Chavis Jr., serves as the national director of the Million Man March. So that was just some information that I didn't know about it. So I figured people my age didn't know that much about it. But where did it go? And have you seen any changes since then? I'm gonna start with you, D.
Oh, all right. So check us out. So I'm probably the oldest one of the group right now. I'm 46 years old. So I was in the Air Force stationed in South Carolina when the march occurred. And so we had people that I work with wanted to take off from work to go up there for this march. And I'm sad to say that unfortunately, like so many events like that we have, it was hyped up before it happened.
Mm-hmm.
it had like a little trail after it happened, and it was gone in a few months. Back to the same thing we've been doing, before it happened. So to me, I don't, I didn't see any effects of that lasted longer than a few months. And the thing is, it reminds me of September 11th in a way. When that happened, when you go around cities, you see people, you speak to everybody, everybody's happy, everybody's like, hey, let's get this done, let's go America. And after about a few months of that, slowly crept back into our same ways. So to me, the Million Man March, while it was a good event to have people there gathering, nothing stuck to me. I don't know.
Ken, how you feel?
I mean, I agree with him. I think you said it was 95.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was a junior. I was a junior in high school then. Yep. So I remember. I thought it was a great, awakening gathering at the time. I was like, okay, maybe there'll be a movement, but then it just died. It went away. You heard no more about it, and I think that was probably because a lot of people didn't and still don't understand what Farrakhan says. They don't understand who he really is. And I think they thought he was the leader of this particular group. And with that, because of the way America is, I think they went on their propaganda and started, false stuff going out, which kind of broke it up. So, I mean, and I think recently there was just another march on Washington, but there wasn't much coverage on it.
Right.
I mean,
I think by Al Sharpton, right?
By Al Sharpton, because he said it at, I think, John Lewis' funeral.
I think that COVID hurt him because a lot of people wasn't gonna go there because of COVID.
Yeah, but from what I understand, quite a few people did show up, but there was no coverage, no nothing of it because of COVID. So it's like trying to make all these movements, but nothing's sticking. It was like Million Man March. It's just a memory now in the books of history.
Right.
But nothing really came out of it because nothing really changed.
I know for me, I can remember I have an older cousin now, doctor actually, man. I'm so proud of him. I know he's listening. Didi, what's up, man? I remember he went to the Million Man March, and I remember being so proud of him, but I didn't know what it was. When I look at the police brutality from 95 to today, I don't see much change. When I look at the situation that Black people in, when I look at the Black families, when I look at the Black ratio, the income that we have compared to our white counterparts, it's still the same. I was too young to really know what was going on, but from somebody can be in 2020 and go back and pull stats from 1995, ain't nothing really changed for us. Now, I will say, I believe that march was powerful. And I believe that a lot of brothers went home with some good ideas. But again, everybody, when you come home with these ideas and you start talking to your wife, you start talking to your family, I feel like a lot of people kind of dissuade people from oh, well, no, you can't do this because you're going to make such and such feel this way. Or no, you can't do that because you're going to make such and such feel that way. So I think that one of the things that hurts us is that we try to please everyone. I think that's the case. And when you're a leader, as you know, I know you all know about leadership. But as a leader, you can't make everyone happy. Sometimes you have to make the tough decisions, and sometimes you have to go the way that nobody else wants to go. And as a leader, you kind of just got to pull everybody with you. And I think a lot of that is what's happening, especially for me, growing up in South Georgia. You come around talking about Black power this and movement that and everything like that, man, you liable to get hung out there in South Georgia, man. So I know it depends on where you come from, but we have a hard time of all coming together, having one voice. And then, like you say, man, as soon as somebody starts leading, then they get slandered in the media. As soon as somebody starts talking ownership, they get slandered in the media. So it is what it is. Go ahead, D. I see you want to jump in.
No. I just agree with that 100%. I think that we need to do better at supporting one another. It's not always about competition.
Right.
Culturally, we are into a lot of sports, basketball, football, whatever it is, and we see our team competing. I think sometimes we take that kind of competitive mindset against other people and no, we're not competing. Yeah, we're not competing in life. We're all trying to win. We're all trying to do the same things. We're trying to succeed in this world. raise our kids and have them become successful, productive adults like we're trying to be. It's not always competition.
Right.
I agree.
I would say when I moved to Atlanta and I really started to open my mind, I will say this. I think that there are a lot more of men like us than there are of men not like us. I just think that we all have to find each other. And I think that when that happens, we're going to set the world on fire. Because it's a lot. 9 times out of 10, the brother's a good man, good person. You know, we can't let the media and the movies and the radio and the music and everything dissuade us and you know, turn us against each other. Because I feel like that Million Man March, man, just back in 95, especially with somebody like Minister Louis Farrakhan leading it, bro, that to me should have stuck. And I even think about the speech he gave on July 4th. Like, I can still like remember that, and like a lot of that stuff still stick with me right now. And I'm like, man, if I was able to go to a march in 95 and see this dude, I could imagine where I would be. But then again, living in society, living in America, especially where you being a strong black man, you already that's almost 3 strikes right there. Almost 3. You sneeze wrong and you be getting rid of it. So yeah, but not to down it, I feel like we do need more things like that. I was actually, me and my wife was planning on going to the one this year, but due to COVID and we got young children, it just wasn't happening. But hopefully once this thing is over with, something like that is set up, because I would love to be a part of that and see what we can do to further our people, because at the end of the day, we just want to be treated fairly, and we want what's ours. But my personal, this is going to be my favorite topic for the show, and I'm glad that us put it last on our segment. The police and black people. It's a tough situation. Just to kind of give you all a little bit of where my mind is on it. I am a huge proponent on defunding the police. And people say, well, what's defunding the police? Defunding the police, to me, is divesting the funds from police departments and reallocating them to non-policing forms of public safety, community support, such as social services, youth services, housing, education, healthcare, and other community resources. I feel like in America, we have a huge problem with living with the disease. We rather do what we want, get a disease, and then try to live with the disease by medicine instead of stopping the disease from the jump. Like, you have other affluent areas that white people live in where they can decide that they want to put more tax money into healthcare and community resources and social service and things like that, and not as much in the police departments, and look at they flourishing compared to our communities that are over policed. We got to, I'll be honest with you, I feel like if a police officer should only have a baton, some cuffs, and a taser gun. If you need more than that, then you shouldn't be the police. It just is what, that's how I feel. I mean, once the defunding is done, I still feel like we need to have police. You can't get rid of them completely, but only to handle the violent crimes, like non-violent stuff, they need to go. But as you all know, according to the census, we make up 13% of the population. In 2018, we made up 34% of the jail population. It was 29% males and 24% Hispanics. And both of those, it's more of those than it is in them, but it's more of us in jail. And then of course, we know we get arrested at a much higher rate. And then we have to teach our children different preventative methods, 10 and 2, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, all kind of things. So I am really, really against the police, even more against the police that know they had no business protecting and serving. So Ken, I start out with D last, so I'm gonna go to you, man. Tell me how you feel about the police, you being a black man in America.
I mean, I can say I do have friends that I know that are cops. I would say decent people from what I know, interactions, working with them. And like you said, it's defunding. That's the word that scares people. And just to be clear for all those watching, it's not getting rid of the police. That's not what we're saying. It's like you said, it's making the community that they're policing better. In 99, well, because I don't know percentages, but I'm pretty sure there's a higher rate of white cops than there are black cops, which then in turn, if there's a black community, and we'll just take Southwest Atlanta, for instance, which is predominantly black, you have cops who have never lived in that area, who know nothing about that area, patrolling that area. And when something happens, they're already on edge. So why
Preaching.
not? Why not spend the money in that community? I think I read something the other day where they're trying to do something in that area of town to make it better, but it should have been done a long time ago. I mean, I watched 13, the Netflix special. And I'm like, it's really messed up how when you go back, we get brought here, separated from our families. Okay. Because I was talking to somebody the other day. I said, I wish I could trace back how far back where my people originally came from, but that is practically probably impossible.
It's a conversation the other day, man. Cause I was talking to a homeboy, man. Me and him both was saying them same words.
And you take that and then you make up an imaginary war on drugs to further disconnect the Black family and community. You put drugs there. Now you have drug dealers in the community who are making money. For you, you're not going to touch them because they're getting rid of the men in that community. So now you have that problem. And then here we are today with the movements of Black men getting shot. And then now you're saying there's still not a problem, and you don't want to fix it, which to me is the most asinine thing you could even think or say, when the problem wasn't created by the Black community itself. So why not divert those funds back into the community that you destroyed, not us, but you destroyed, to help build it up? I mean, we talk about reparations and everything. That's fine too, but we got to start in the communities. Once we build those communities back up, and I mean, they're going to be drugs. People are going to be on drugs. We know that, but we can get them help.
Yeah, because there's people on drugs in affluent white communities, like rich white communities.
Right. And that's the other thing. I'm glad you said that, because now you have something like, the crack epidemic, but they said, that's their problem. So then you have heroin, which hits the outer communities, the white suburban areas, and now it's a problem.
It's a problem. Oh my God, we having an opioid pandemic. We have to get these people help. It's like, what in the world? I don't understand. You got something for us, man, on this? I want to get you in.
Yes. So this right here is probably going to be the first time that we are not all agreeing on the topic.
Okay.
All right. So to me, there is no way to justify, explain away, or whatever you want to about an unarmed Black man being killed. There's no way. Now, you can talk about how the person should not resist arrest. That's one area. But to me, I think the bigger problem in our community is crime. It's us. So I grew up here in Knoxville and in the projects. And we knew who was selling drugs in the projects. We knew who was doing illegal stuff. No one ever called the cops. They let them sell that stuff to our communities, and just they became kind of like, like ranks in the population, because they had a flashy car, or they had flashy clothes, or whatever it is. Meanwhile, we're watching them destroying our communities, and no one is doing anything to stop that. So while, yes, killing someone who's unarmed is there's no excuse for that, but we can do more for ourselves than any director from the president or Congress can do. We can police ourselves. Right. We can cut down on this crime, not to mention the single mother households that we have. I mean, we have dads, men who are out there making kids and just bouncing. And now you leaving this mother with this 1 or 2, 3 kids trying to get a job, trying to go to school, trying to do all this stuff. And where is their support system? So that is twofold as well. So if you are a female and you're looking for somebody to get involved with, whatever it is, and you meet Dave, and Dave has 4 kids by 4 different women. You need to think about, do I want to do something with Dave like that's going to jeopardize me? Because obviously he's known for not taking care of responsibilities. So I make that point to say that I think that crime is what is destroying our community more than anything else. More so than the police. The police are going to kill 27, Black men a year. How many are we going to kill?
I ask you this, and I hate to cut you off, but one, I will.
No,
So according to the CDC, Black fathers are the most involved in their children's lives of any race. So regardless of what you see on TV, regardless of what you see in the media, there are no men that take care of their kids like Black men. That's white, Hispanic, Asians. Now, this isn't mine. You can go look this up from the CDC. I think they updated in 2019. So this is a fairly new research that Black men are the most involved of their kids' life. So on average, Black men do not leave their women. And now, do we have a problem with the household being sustained? Yes. Back in the 60s, the Black household was about 70% intact. Today, we're about 7% intact. So it's almost highly unlikely for the man and woman to be together. But the brother is in their life. Now, one thing I ask you, when you say Black on Black crime, now I'll take it back to the 60s. Like, let's say when the government started saying, well, we're going to help families now that can't get on it. Do you not know they told fathers, you can't even live in the same city as your family if you want to get housing. If you want your family to get any help at all, you have to move out of the house. Now, see, that kind of stuff wasn't done to the other communities. They forced our people to leave. You had fathers sneaking in their own houses at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning just to see their family. And then they even had it where Black people couldn't have a television in their home if the government came by and saw you had a TV in your house and you was on government assistance, they took you off of it because they didn't want you to see what was going on. After a few years, they get all this networking stuff down. They start putting they give you a TV in your home. They put these white families on and showing your mom and dad working hard, and you looking around like, dang, I ain't seen my dad. I mean, all that stuff was playing. And then even to go back on Black crime, there's white on white crime. There's Asian on Asian crime. There's Hispanic on Hispanic crime. But Black on Black crime is the only really one that we coined, like has been coined for us. And every community is going to have problems within the community. But I feel like if we were like how Ken mentioned, he was saying reparations. If you were to give Black people, let's say $375,000 per head, which that's the minimum that we're due per person, don't you think the violence would stop almost overnight? Like,
no.
I do. I mean, because you can't think about it how you think about a movie, my brother. Like, it's because you don't know these people in the hood. Like these people are robbing and stealing and killing because this is what they have to do. Like they have to. You're telling people I've taken away trades out of high school. So when you come out of high school, you can't really get a good job. You got to go to college. I almost prevented, it's almost impossible for somebody in the hood to go to college. It's like you're so far behind. And then it's like, well, what do you do? Now, like you said, I got 2 kids. Now I can't get a job here. I can't get a job there. I can't go on nobody's school, but I can sell this dope. I mean, everybody gonna do what they have to do. You gotta understand this. The America was looted. This place that we live in, it was stolen. Every constitutional law was broken to build where we live. So for somebody to have any kind of thing like, oh, what we should or shouldn't do, well, wait a minute, bro. You came in here and you got rid of everybody and rewrote history. So yeah, I do agree. Black people, we do have to do a better job, but it's like the crab in the, like we say, the crab in the barrel. When you're not necessarily like deep in the barrel, it's easy for you to say like what these crabs should be doing, but it's like that's not their natural habitat. These people were born in that. Like if that's all you know, that's why I think it's so important that we defund the police to put money back into these communities so you can start teaching these kids there are different ways and different avenues. You don't have to be in the street, because if we don't give you any other option, how the hell can we expect you to do something different? But I do agree with you though. We do have to get better. Like when I look at Chicago, and white people do live in Chicago, it's not just Black people, but we do have some areas where we can do much better with each other. But like at the end of the day, it all comes down to what situation we were put in. We did not put ourselves in the situation. Even the hoods, bro, redlining. In the 60s and 70s, we couldn't even get houses in the nice neighborhoods. They forced us into the hoods. They forced us into the slums. They forced us into the ghettos. So I mean, we can't, bro. A Black man that's making it, bro, it's a blessing. And all we can do is teach the younger generation.
All right, so check this out. So when I was born in Lonsdale Home Projects, my mom had me and my brother, both of us, in high school. No, she was 16, 17 when she had me. When I was born in the projects, my mother's mother lived there. My dad's mom lived there. My mother's two older sisters lived there. So my dad joined the Marine Corps to get out of the situation. He made a decision like, I'm not going to stay here, and this environment is not going to be good for me and my family. He went away, and it was tough. It was tough when I left to go to the Air Force. So while yes, we do in some instances have to work harder, but it still comes down to choices. So I was raised, not having lights sometimes. Wear my brother's clothes today, he can wear them tomorrow. I really came from that. So I've seen that, but I've also seen people around me making decisions and choices on how they're going to do it. I started cutting grass when I was 12 years old, worked at Burger King since I was 14 years old. I started cutting hair when I was in high school. To me, my mentality was, I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to not stay here, to not stay in this environment, because it's not going to end up well for me. So I do believe it's harder. I do believe that there are a lot of things that we have to do twice as good as other people. But I do believe culturally, if we can get together and see there's more to life than what you're seeing right now. I mean, I give my time and my money. I volunteer and go out there, and this organization I'm part of, we went out there and did a mobile library in the projects that I was raised in. And we collect books, we take them out there, we talk to the kids. I talked about my military experience, talk about things they can do to better themselves.
How cool would it be if the city or the state or the county you live in have programs that just does that? Money that would have went to the police just to do what you're saying, for people like you to go back to those communities that you were there and show those brothers a different way. What if you got paid to do that? What if they say, you know what you make a year? Oh, I know you're retired. Okay, what was your last salary? We're going to pay you to do that. Now, the money that we would have been buying grenades and assault rifles, all the stuff for the police, we're going to put back in the power of the people. Now, I can imagine you going back to your hood and you saying exactly what you just said. Even if you just reach one brother, it changes things. But again, we got to have the fun. Ken, I see you scooping up, man. What you got?
Go ahead, Ken.
And that's the thing. You when you were talking, you said you had your whole family, you had that support system. If everybody in these places had that support system, like, they don't trust each other. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
If they trusted each other and were a village, then it would be easier to get these kids out. I mean, in growing up down in Valdosta, even though I lived out in the country, we had the Boys and Girls Club. Yeah. Yeah. We had the Boys and Girls Club. Yeah, we had the Boys and Girls Club. So that was kind of an out. That was where we could go and, not be running the streets. We would go to the Boys and Girls Club. I've seen a lot of them in the last few years get shut down because of funding. And they're trying to actually I'm in Henry County now, they're trying to bring one here, but the funding is always the issue. If you could take and allocate those funds to those programs, then you're working with something, because there are kids who don't want to be in the situation they're in. I mean, they're looking for a way out. But when your commissioners and your city council it's looking at the budget, trying to figure out what to do with the money. Oh, we're just gonna shore up our police department and forget about everybody else. I mean, that's one of the things, and it's got to start. Even though we're talking here, we have to be involved in our community too. Like, I might live in a what you would call an affluent area, but I know there are areas that are not. Even though I live here, I know there are people who aren't as fortunate that need help. And what can I do? I can go and be a voice for them at these meetings to say, hey, I know y'all scared of the word defund, but we have these kids who need an out. If you don't want them breaking into homes, if you don't want them robbing people, you got to give them something to do. And taking away these programs is not the thing. And I've seen that happen even in the county I'm in. They're bringing the Boys and Girls Club, but then they're cutting the community centers and stuff like that, which makes absolutely no sense. To buy an armored vehicle for the police?
Right, it's insane. Ron, I see you done jumped in, man. You got something for us on this one?
I wanted to ask Hall how many people he knew like himself when he was growing up in that environment that had the same mindset.
Um,
You don't
I'm
gotta
trying to
think too
think, man.
long. It ain't gonna be too many, right?
Yeah. So so the whole thing is back when I was a baby, like I said, my father joined the Marine Corps. Him and my mother split up, and so from then on, I had with my mother. Later on in life, I lived with my father. So
Right.
I would say there were not many of us. I mean, I have always had the kind of nerd mentality. I've always
Right.
liked science, always liked math, and I was picked on and called nerd when I was sitting in the front row of the classroom, but I was there to learn. So to me, we all had choices. Now, do I want to go and sell these drugs or get a job at Burger King? I got a
Right.
job at Burger King.
And every
I cut hair.
single young black man in those situations in the community has to face those decisions and decide what they want to do. And we know, unfortunately, we have the stigmas and the things that we come up like rap or go to the league. Like
Right.
what? That's really what we believe and say and
Yes.
think as black, like two options. Like, why is that way? That's because it was put into us. We have to talk about why our community is the way it is and how it happened. And one of the biggest things we could talk about is when we came up with the war on drugs, and it was targeted for our community. And we don't got time to get into all the different elements, but I know we got to do better, especially the new generation, the ones that's coming up behind. But when we talking back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, we were systematically set up to fail and fall apart and collapse. Like the crack epidemic and the things that they put into our communities to set us up, and the Joe Biden and his bills that he set up for our
that thing enhanced it.
since you gotta talk about that time is coming, and all of these things, what were we supposed to do? And what do people do who are in poverty? That's our community. Our household income is just outstanding, the differences and what we were set up to fail. We ain't supposed to be here. So I do feel like when we're talking about, because you said our people, we need to do better. It's not the cops,
Yes.
it's not the police. And us said it in the comments, we do got to do better, but at the same time we have to come together, as JP said it too. We have to come together as a village to fight for the things that were taken away from us.
But just to kind of put, just not go back into it in much detail, but every community, like every race has their set of people who can do better. There are white people who can do better, but yet the majority of white people aren't in the situation that we're in. Like you got Asians that can do better, but the majority of Asians not in that situation. You have, I don't want to go Hispanic because they really but you all get what I'm saying. Like
majority of the black community can't do better. I mean, most of our black males, they get them in the system with the records at what, 14, 15, 16?
That's why I'm such a big proponent on reparations. I feel like if you could give Elon Musk $4.8 billion in
we gotta talk about that, because you said if you got 350K, you don't get
like they literally gave Elon Musk got $4.8 billion to fund businesses, but yet, so that's one man, you can give him 4.8, but you telling me, and not to say I don't care about y'all, but you telling me you can't give me $375,000 for work that I've already done, for work that's already been done. It's like going to work and like I hear somebody say, well, you shouldn't get reparations until you do this, you shouldn't get reparations until you do that, and I'm like, okay, go to work for a year and have them not pay you until you get this or get that or complete this or complete that. You'll lose your mind. You'll be like, I want my money, I want it now. But I just feel like if we had that, and a lot of people say they're not gonna just give it to us, and I understand that it's gonna be stipulations and contract, all kind of stuff that go behind it. But I feel like even if something small as if I could pick where my tax money goes, like I don't see why we pay taxes. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I don't see where my tax money goes. Like you say, we got all these areas. Like, what if I want to take my tax money and give it to Southwest Atlanta? Like, I want all my tax money to go there. I live in Georgia. That's why I want my money to go for those people. But no, we can't do that. We have somebody who we elect or that's elected that decides where that money goes for us. and they can tell us whatever they want to tell us when they running, but when they get in that seat, they can do whatever they want to. So I feel like the whole system need to go. We need to have our own political party. We need to have our own system. We need to have a few people who really lead this thing and say, okay, this is the way we're going to march. This is the way we're going to rock and roll. But I think a big part of getting us back to where we are is paying us for the work that we've done. And that's by paying us our reparations. I think that is so important. We don't talk about it enough.
That was a lot,
yeah,
CJ.
you cut that check, and that's how it's supposed to be. But I don't want to let us leave without giving everybody their they say so. So I'm gonna start with you, Ken. Just anything you want to say to send us off.
Well, all I can say is, for the most part, I think there's still a lot of work to do. But get involved with your communities. Attend the city council meetings, attend the commissioners meeting, find out what's going on locally. I mean, I know we got the whole big presidency coming up, and they say you have to pick the lesser of two evils, but yeah, I mean,
don't even get started on that, bro.
Oh, that's a whole nother hour.
I'm gonna get fired. Don't do that.
There's 2 hours.
But I mean, it's we can make it better, and it starts with conversations like this. And like I said, get involved in community, find out what's going on. And a quote I like to end with is just be the change you want to see.
I like it. Mr. D Hall, what you got for us?
Hey, this right here is what we need more of. We didn't always agree on things, but we were able to disagree and present our stances respectfully. There was no name calling. There's no nothing. We all agree. I think that we all want us to be in a better place than what we are right now, and we need to get involved. Just like you were saying just now. I mean, how many of us are involved with the PTA? I mean, something as small as that, to be involved with your kids' school and how they're learning, in local community events. And let's get out there and like you said, be the change you want to see. We can do it. It starts with us, because we need to show them what we can do. There's more options than just rapping and playing ball. There's no disrespect towards them, but we can do a lot more than just that. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Ron, you got anything you want to take the people home with?
The entire time, everybody brought it. And my final thoughts are just like, wow, is there going to be any legislation that's really going to happen to help us out in any type of way? And at the end of the day, we had a couple comments that came in. Eric Pitts talking about the reparation money and how our community is going to, fall to destruction and combust within itself if we get this money. And it's only gonna make us worse. I would love to talk about that, but
yes, invite me next time.
That's a whole other hour.
Yes,
I feel like
next time.
I think that is like a media thought, like that black people can't control and do what they want. Be smart with their money. We just gonna all go buy Cadillacs and Jordans.
It's spinning rims.
Like Eric is a very intelligent brother. Like Eric wouldn't go off with that money. I would be shocked if Eric actually knew a brother, like say, okay, I couldn't trust this dude with that much money and see what he could do. Or maybe he do, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just feel like we go off with that Dave Chappelle skit when people got reparations. That's when the black man reparations go straight there. Like I told you all, 9 out of 10 black men, just like how we are right here. So if you give 9 out of 10 black men that kind of money, imagine what we can do for our people. Yeah, there are gonna be people who blow it, but imagine the good we can really do in our community, not having to worry about other people doing it for us. Pay me my money and let me decide. If you want to blow $375,000, that's your money. Go blow it. That's why you blowing it. You ain't robbing. You ain't stealing. You ain't killing. But I digress. But yeah, that was my.
Yeah, you just took my last words, but it's all good.
Give me that, Mr. Producer. But again, fellas, I appreciate you all joining us. We will do this again. We will do it very soon. Next time we're gonna do it on a non-football night, so we can really, really dive in and start, really discussion. Thank you all for your time, loyals, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Again, we thank you all. Shout out to the Speakeasy.
All right, love y'all, brothers.
All right. Yep.